Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. What's going on, Ma? Welcome you guys to a watch party on a Thursday. Is it Thursday? A Thursday. I think it's July 9th, something like that. Who knows? Who really cares, right? You're here. I'm here. We're going to talk as soon as you guys roll in. But, I want to make something official. I mean, I guess kind of official. What is it? It's now noon 06 on the East. I keep telling you guys I'm gonna be on at noon. I'm sorry. You know what? Let's just make it official. The start time for the watch party is gonna be 5 minutes late because you know what? Sometimes you're late to the party, and when you show up fashionably late to the party, you're the cool kids. So we're gonna be cool kids. And we'll start at 11:05. But I still want you guys to show up at 11 o'clock in Central Time. But noon 05 Eastern Time, we get started and going with this. How you guys doing? What's going on? Corporations 8, my baby. Block Trump's executive orders. I think they're working on it in some aspects. There's pieces of that bill that are getting blocked here and there. That's all the nuance of the political rat race of every day that happens. Luke H. Cyborg Dragon. The dragons are showing up. I'm glad you guys are here. They say I passed my assessment test to get to move to interview for a new job so I can finally stop stressing that test. Good stuff. I like good news. Chris Principal, what did it say? The principal says, me, JR. Yeah, that's right. What's up, you guys? Jason Stanley, good to see you guys. Dexter Wong, watch party, watch. Don't forget also, tomorrow is the Friday watch party. So you got to bring your drinks. You got to tell me what you're drinking because it's a Friday and we're degenerates and we're going to start drinking in the middle of the day because it's a Friday. And I've always liked that theme of what you're drinking on. Patricia Dawson, good to see you too. Benjamin Morrill, good to see you, brother. And Sean Kakuk, keep doing your thing, JR. Thanks for dropping the knowledge. And I love your lid collection. We're still working on it. We got Alabama today. I had to, in case if you guys are longtime watchers, being a few years ago, I'd rock so many hats on this show, and I've eliminated 75% of my collection because I cut my damn hair. And all those hats were size 8 to 8 1/4 to cover up all my dreads. And now they're just sitting in the closet. So many good hats I can't use. Anyways, let's get started and let's stop rambling. It's already 10 after the hour. I want to give you guys, as I've been talking about, updates of stories that we don't follow up on to see the devastation of things that are happening and the response many times that it's given from the people who are supposed to be responsible for those things. So on July 4th, literally the day of Independence Day, those terrible Texas floods ravaged the communities there. Many people are still missing. I believe over 100, at least last I checked, were still missing. And so many folks had been also recovered. In the aftermath of that, we're discovering, I think pretty obviously, the reasons why these things happened, the reasons why things were more devastating than they could have been, is because of the response from the people in charge, from the top to the bottom. So in response to that, the governor of the state of Texas, Greg Abbott, had to answer some questions about their response and the way that they've been kowtowing to everything that the president wants them to do, which is to not give a damn about the American people. So Greg Abbott had a fascinating answer as to who's to blame for this.
Second part of the question needs to be addressed. You ask, I'm going to use your words. Who's to blame? Know this. That's the word choice of losers. Let me explain one thing about Texas. And that is Texas, every square inch of our state cares about football. You could be in Hunt, Texas, Huntsville, Texas, Houston, Texas, any size community, they care about football. High school, Friday night lights, college football, or pro. And know this. Every football team makes mistakes. The losing teams are the ones that try to point out who's to blame. The championship teams are the ones that say, don't worry about it, man. We got this. We're going to make sure that we go score again, that we're going to win this game. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions. What Texas is all about is solutions. In fact, I want to read you something that I received last night that's worth emphasizing to put this in context.
Okay. Read it. Dum-dum.
Tragedy has come. That part is done. What we do now, who we are now, that's what the story is still being written. Let it be one of grace, of grit, of fierce love in the face of grief. Let it be the kind of story that proves that the hill country may flood, but it does not fail. Say what you will about Texas, but when the rivers rise, so do we. Not with blame, not with bitterness, but with boots on the ground, arms around strangers, and hearts wide open. That's the Texas I know, and that's the America that I believe in. What this person wrote is what I know is true for all Texans and what we will achieve every single day.
Get off the camera. Greg Abbott there is talking about how Texas is full of football fans. Listen, there's over 100 football fans that have died due to your lack of response to your responsibility to protect them, implement things and strategies, use their tax dollars so that they can live. That's the purpose. You're there to organize, put together this state, make sure it works for the people that live there. Or now the over 100 people who no longer live there. They're dead. But you're talking about football teams. Let's talk about how losers go out to blame people and champions go and make solutions and give answers to those problems. Losers blame. Is anybody going to tell him that his president has been blaming everyone else in the country for every disaster that's happening? I remember he blamed DEI for the airplane mishaps that were happening as soon as his administration got in there and started raiding and getting rid of air traffic controllers and destroying agencies throughout our government. But was he blaming? Was that loser blaming anybody? I heard him say that America is not great. Who's to blame for that? Apparently, it's all those Mexicans, drug dealers, and child rapists that he said as soon as he walked his ass down that escalator, talking about who to blame for what's destroying this country. He also says far left liberal lunatics are to blame. Why is he always blaming people? He must be an effing loser. Or maybe he doesn't play enough football to come up with some answers as to why these things happened. You know what? There's some answers to why these things happened. And the losers in Texas, the leadership there, actually even the federal people ahead of this agencies like FEMA, they're also losers too, because CNN talked about the things that they didn't do as far as being the champions to plan for something like this.
According to four of inside FEMA, that federal response may not have been as fast as it might have been. They say that a new rule that any expenditure over $100,000 needed sign-off from Secretary Noem slowed the federal response. These sources tell us that FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams, which are typically deployed in anticipation they might be needed, instead was delayed until Monday, 3 days after the flood. Now, a source also tells us that a request Texas made for FEMA aerial imagery to aid in the search was also delayed, waiting for Secretary Noem's approval. Now, additionally, multiple FEMA officials say that they were taken aback by the agency's relatively limited response in the immediate aftermath of the disaster. CNN has reached out to FEMA for comment. So far, no reply from the agency. However, a DHS spokeswoman more generally told CNN that FEMA is, in her words, quote, shifting from bloated DC-centric dead weight to a lean deployable disaster force that empowers state actors to provide relief for their citizens.
Does that sound like planning to you? Does it sound like prep and planning when they talk about how FEMA was late to the party, couldn't even show up and do their job because Kristi Noem wasn't signing off on these federal responses for it, because the systems that they're putting in place where the president himself said he's going to wean the states off of FEMA? Is that a winning football team, Governor Abbott? Is that winning football team looking at tape? So, okay, let's do this dumbass analogy. So, is that winning football team looking at tape from the previous FEMA responses that actually worked, and then eliminating those responses and making sure they do absolutely nothing about it instead? So, when you lost, you lost the first quarter. I guess, continuing on this analogy, you lost the first quarter, you're down 21-0. You're getting your asses whooped. And in fact, your players are dying on the field in floodwaters. So after that first quarter is over and you have the opportunity to look back and see what you did wrong, instead, you start talking about how you're going to come back and plan. Did you plan? Did you look at the tape and realize that Kristi Noem was sitting there at this line of scrimmage when the defense was running at your face and was going like this before she got her head taken off? Are you planning? Are you looking at what the problems were? They also made help for the Texas officials made some requests for aerial help. That wasn't there either. I remember this administration, this party keeps talking about the bureaucracy and the red tape of all these regulations and government getting in your way. But it's odd when you completely eliminate any of the help that this state is supposed to get from the federal response. What you end up getting is red tape and delays. Odd how that works. But their spokesperson will still say that they're blowing through all of the bureaucracy and the worries and the slowdowns, except there's constant slowdowns and bureaucracy. They just say things. This is what incompetent people do. This is what privileged people who have no reason to be in the positions that they're in give the excuses once they fail. Don't let them off the hook for the things they continue to fail you on. They're failing you and you're dying from it. These are very big issues that they're not addressing. In fact, you know what they're addressing since we're talking about Kristi Noem? Kristi Noem is addressing how much her president is the best thing ever, despite people dying under his and her watch.
Matters a lot. I'm extremely grateful for God's hand in that whole situation, because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were saved. And this is a time for all of us in this country to remember that we were created to serve each other. God created us to take care of each other. And that when we do that, we are happier, we are more fulfilled, and we can walk alongside people on their worst day and help them get through it and come out the other side, knowing that we can continue to live a life that God has purposed for us. So they're grateful for you. Several times the day after the flooding, you and Melania were on the phone with me, and I want to thank you for that. And that meant the world. I was able to tell many of those folks that I had been visiting with you, and that you had said, whatever they need, Kristi, let's deploy it and get it down there and be helpful. Matters a lot.
She took the opportunity to tell the president that people appreciate him for not doing anything about this. In fact, setting up a system where she won't do anything about this either, and they die. They're appreciative of him. Oh, I talked to you and Melania on the phone, and they loved that I was talking to you on the phone. They didn't love that their loved ones were dying. They didn't love that their house got swept away. They didn't love that they had no chance to know that this storm was coming because of the way that we completely took away all those warning systems purposefully, because we need to save a couple dollars to give to some more billionaires. They appreciated it. Maybe someone should talk to the people who don't appreciate what it is that happened to them, as they appreciate, I guess, funeral arrangements for their loved ones. Are they appreciative? You see who the target and who the messiah is of this entire party? The only person that they care about is the guy that she was talking to and buttering him up to make sure that he thinks people are appreciative of him. She had more to say, because this is when she was actually on the ground, I believe, there talking about it. But she wants to make sure you guys know President Trump loves you. Oops. Let's do that again.
Know that President Trump is absolutely heartbroken by what has happened here in Texas, and the loss of life is absolutely devastating to him and Melania. This morning, I talked with him several times, and he wanted to make sure that all of you know how much he loves Texas, how much he's grieving for your families that have lost someone, and the beautiful children that we're still looking for and hoping to return to their families, and that he is absolutely committed to using all the resources of the federal government to help unify families, rescue all those that were still missing, and return those who maybe we will recover back to their families as soon as possible.
She knows that President Trump is heartbroken. In fact, she had to relay that message from President Trump that he's heartbroken over the loss of life and the more bodies that they'll have to continue to recover. Weird how President Trump won't let people know that he's heartbroken over the loss of life. Weird that he won't show up and talk about how he needs to do something different to implement systems in place to make sure more people aren't killed. Kristi Noem has to tell you guys how she talked to President Trump, and he relayed the message to her because apparently he has no access to speak to the American people outside of the fact that he does every day to bash his political opponents, except for that part. But he doesn't have enough of the time or gumption to talk to the people that are devastated by this. I think he might be afraid that they're going to call him a couple pieces of trash. What losers these guys are. There's one other part, though. Not even one other part. There's tons of other parts. But speaking of Kristi Noem, don't forget this. She posted this back at the beginning of July, 3 days before this disaster hit. Alligator Alcatraz, Kristi Noem says, will be funded largely by FEMA's Shelter and Services Program, which the Biden administration used as a piggy bank to spend hundreds of millions of American taxpayer dollars to house illegal aliens, including at the Roosevelt Hotel. It served as a hotel for Trinidad Aragua. Okay, so as she's pointing out there, apparently the Biden administration used your tax dollars and FEMA to fund hotel stays for illegal immigrants. And matter of fact, gang members. But she's going to take that money and use it for Alligator Alcatraz that's leaking right now, and also has a bunch of human rights abuses going on immediately as they started putting folks there. The same place that they won't allow elected officials to go visit, which they have the right to do because they represent the people who fund that concentration camp. They won't even let them see it because they might see something that's illegal going on there. But she's going to take FEMA dollars that could go to you and help you in your time of need, American citizen who pays for this stuff. And she's going to put it in Alligator Alcatraz, which is basically a private prison run by a bunch of other billionaires that funded them in their campaigns and their political life in order so they can make some more money off of incarcerating people. How great is America again at this particular moment? How great is it for those children that died and got swept away in these floodwaters? I'm going to keep asking because they won't answer the question. How great is it for them? Talk to the families of these folks who died and ask how great their life is right now. It gets even better. Remember Governor Abbott was talking about the football plans, and they go back and check the tape and they make sure things are right. Hey, let's check some tape from CNN. These are actually quotes. In recent years, multiple efforts in Kirk County, where this whole disaster happened, to build a more substantial flood warning system have faltered or have been abandoned due to budget concerns, leaving the epicenter of this weekend's floods without emergency sirens that could have warned residents about the rising waters. That's the tape that Governor Abbott could have looked at after the first quarter and adjusted. More, while at least one neighboring county issued an evacuation order in the morning hours of July 4th, Kirk County officials don't appear to have done so. A review of typically off-the-record communications from a real-time messaging system operated by the National Weather Service showed that no emergency manager from Kirk County was sending messages or interacting with NWS staff on the platform, even as emergency officials from other counties were doing so. Oh, but there's more. The lack of messages doesn't mean officials in Kirk County weren't monitoring the communications from the NWS and acting on them, but raises new questions about local officials' actions, particularly in a crucial window between NWS's first public warning alert at 1:14 a.m. and a more urgent flash flood warning sent several hours later. So this is the tape of all the things that they weren't doing the right way. In fact, we're asked to put in these the warning systems that they wouldn't put in because it costs too much. Here's a little bit more. I'm sorry, maybe they should read every once in a while and find out what is it they did wrong. More from CNN. Local officials have long acknowledged the risk of deadly flooding in Kirk County. At a 2016 meeting, County Commissioner Tom Moser said that Kerr was, quote, probably the highest risk area in the state for flooding, and described the county's early warning system as pretty antiquated and marginal at the best. That was in 2016. I may have to check the records, but I feel like Governor Abbott was the governor in 2016. I'm not saying that as like sarcastically. Maybe he wasn't. Whoever was the governor and whoever was the local officials who turned down all this stuff in 2016, when they talked about this could be the possibly biggest risk area for flooding in the state, they don't realize that because apparently everyone in Texas loves them some football. There's more to this. You guys should read this article because they talked about, again, how multiple warning systems, multiple money was allocated or tried to be allocated to be put in place to avert this types of disasters, and they didn't do it. There was even a point where they said the alarm sounds would be too loud and would annoy people. I believe that's what emergency alarm sounds are supposed to be for, to alert you and wake you up out of potentially a slumber at 1:14 a.m. so that you can get out and save yourself, or maybe even days beforehand. The level of incompetence is off the charts. And when people like this, who are wholly stupid, ignorant, racist, bigoted folks who rely on hatred in order to get themselves in these positions of power to continue to push their hatred on everyone else, and then disaster strikes, as many people with Trump derangement syndrome had and told you would happen when you eliminate services like this and normal emergency evacuation types of warning systems in place. When you eliminate all that stuff, people die. So in response to people dying and being led by a bunch of incompetent, loser, privileged white supremacists, Charlie Kirk does his normal thing.
The Democrats, they're so despicable. The Democrats are not lifting a finger to remember the well over 100 people that have died in Texas Hill Country. What you are not being told by the media anywhere is that the death toll likely would not have been as high if it wasn't for DEI. This Texas tragedy is just the latest example. It's not just incompetence. This is DEI working to undermine meritocratic institutions, and more people likely died than otherwise would have because of DEI. The Democrats...
You have to ignore the facts. You have to ignore what I just read about what was going on at CNN reported of the previous years of apparently DEI policies of ignoring using tax dollars to implement a better emergency system. Or I guess you have to rely on DEI policies, which this guy doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about at this point. He's reading a script that someone, I guess, provided him to provide cover for the people responsible for this stuff. What happened to the blame game issue? It sounds like Charlie Kirk is blaming DEI policies that are non-existent that I thought this administration had completely taken care of. Why is this administration dragging their feet on getting rid of DEI policies? Why are they still hanging on to all of these incompetent black and brown folks and women? Why? Why are they still around? I thought they had a commitment to getting rid of DEI on day one. Did they not finish getting rid of all the DEI policies yet, Charlie? Are they still working on it? Who's responsible for not getting rid of all these incompetent DEI hires? I'm just wondering, because they're playing every side of the fence that they can, except for the side that says, my bad, I screwed this up because I don't give a damn about the American people, and I probably shouldn't even be in office. He's reading a script that someone gave him to provide cover for the people that are going to continue to do this. This is the beginning of hurricane season, you guys. Jeez. Speaking of DEI hires, the only qualification to be a part of this administration is to be an angry, bloviating white guy who hates everyone around him. So you guys, there's supposed to be this guy, he's supposed to be the head of FEMA. And every time I hear about the head of FEMA, they usually pop up at these locations to talk about what FEMA's doing. The head of FEMA, this guy named David Richardson. He's formerly like a Marine or something, and he yells and barks at a bunch of other folks. In fact, his first day as the head of FEMA, who was appointed by Trump, I didn't think he had much of a confirmation process, just appointed him, tossed him there. And once he got there, he got to screaming at the staffers about what he wants to do for Donald Trump and FEMA, not what he wants to do for the American people. Check out this DEI hire. He's been in place before Charlie Kirk said that it's DEI issues. So I guess he's one of the DEI hires. Listen to what this guy had to say.
CBS News has an exclusive video of Richardson's speech on his first day at FEMA. So take a listen.
I don't need very much authority to get everything done I need to do. I don't need the full title. All I need is the authority from the president to put me in here as some degree of acting, and I will make sure that his intent gets completed. I don't stop at yield signs.
During his address, he told FEMA employees, quote, "I and I alone speak for FEMA." He went on to say that he has never read a book on leadership before, but is fine operating in chaos. The former Marine also warned his new coworkers not to get in his way as he works to reform and reduce the size of this agency. Take a listen.
There's somewhere south of 20% that decide that they are going to get in the way of change. You can ask anybody that those 20% of the people are a problem. And they have to be sidelined. So don't get in my way if you're those 20% of the people. I know all the tricks, okay? I know them from lance corporals. I know them from staff sergeants, lieutenants, federal employees, my own employees, and indeed myself, okay? I played the games too. Obfuscation, delay, undermining. If you're one of those 20% of the people and you think those tactics and techniques are going to help you, they will not, because I will run right over you. I will achieve the president's intent.
The president's intent is for him to absolutely nothing. The president's intent is for your children and your loved ones to die. The president's intent is to take more money from these types of programs and give it to rich people and pocket it himself, and then say that this is the most prosperous, best place that the United States has been in its entire history. That's what the president's agenda is. That's what that loudmouth piece of garbage is talking about, sidelining people that get in his way. Let me tell you what else that this guy is doing. Show me really fast. Look, check this out. David Richardson. He's the agency's acting administrator, and he has not been to the site of one of the nation's deadliest floods in the U.S. in the past 25 years. Doesn't give a damn. This is upending this long practice of FEMA leaders making themselves visible after major disasters, if nothing else, to assess the situation and maybe provide some more assistance and help for people. And we, of course, always talk about the photo ops that these guys go through. But are you going to do something? Your job is to do something. And he just told us that his job is to stand up and do whatever it is that Donald Trump wants him to do. There's a little bit more. Former FEMA officials said that Richardson's absence and his lack of public appearances and statements and social media postings, which he's done nothing of the sort, raised concerns that Homeland Security's Kristi Noem is controlling FEMA's response. That's definitely concerning. Noem, who visited the flooded area in Central Texas on Saturday, oversees those 22 agencies, and FEMA is just one of those, and he's doing absolutely nothing. But he wants you to get out of his way because I'm doing Donald Trump's bidding. I'm a tough guy who licks Donald Trump's ass. Okay, tough guy. You got some hairs on your tongue there. Sorry, son of a bitch, man. I'm so tired of these guys, but we keep following behind them. Last thing on this whole FEMA story and the problems that's going on and the continued fallout. This is from back in June. And there was more disasters going on in California, and Donald Trump kept having his battles with Governor Gavin Newsom. There's oddly no battles with Greg Abbott down in Texas right now, but he was having battles with Gavin Newsom out in California because he's upset and he's worried he's going to disrupt his political agenda. So when he was asked about how he sees FEMA dollars going out or any kind of assistance like that, he was asked if it has anything to do with his relationship with this guy and whether or not he'll release those funds. So spoken like a true authoritarian leader, this is what Donald Trump had to say.
With the rail funding in California, will your recent dust-ups with Governor Newsom impact additional wildfire relief out there? They've requested $40 billion.
The man's
Sure,
he shouldn't have fires like that. You clean the floor of your forest and you won't have any forest fires. You know, Austria has very, very flammable trees. They don't have forest fires because they clean the floors. They maintain their forest. It could affect, hatred is never a good thing in politics. When you don't like somebody, don't respect somebody, it's harder for that person to get money if you're on top. But he's done a bad job.
How will you ensure that?
I'll tell you one thing, if I didn't bring in the military to Los Angeles, you wouldn't even have you probably wouldn't be here. You'd be covering the riots in Los Angeles right now.
With the rail
Yes, he has an issue with handing out normal funds that we pay in federal tax dollars to states if he doesn't like the governor of that state. You can't have hatred in politics. If you do, it's less likely that I'll hand out money. That's not your money. This guy thinks he controls everything. It's a matter of whether or not we're going to let him keep thinking that. These types of stories, I do it to continue to show you guys the dire situations that we're in behind this administration, since people don't like to believe the reality that's in front of us, so that then it can turn into action. So it's not just here to complain, but then to turn that into action, because they're making actionable moves every day to destroy your life. All the stuff that they would say their political opponents are doing, they're out to get you. They're going to destroy your life. How much better has your life been since this guy's been in office? Oh, there's a few hundred people whose lives are completely upended and turned upside down. In fact, many of them aren't even here anymore because of this guy, directly because of this guy, who I'm done with. There's been a lot of depressing stuff, though. So let me switch it up just slightly. It's still also ridiculous response from folks about the state of our world, but at least this has a little bit to do with some entertainment that's going on in our world. I believe tomorrow, today's Thursday, on a Friday, the new Superman movie will come out. I got to tell you, I kind of didn't care, only because I just don't watch Superman movies. I used to watch them when I was 4 years old, and Christopher Reeve was playing it because I was 4 years old, and I was watching Superman movies because I was 4 years old. But now, for some reason, a bunch of grown-ass folks are upset about a new Superman movie that's coming out because of some underlining tones and themes that for some reason they never knew existed with Superman. Or they're just extremely hateful pieces of trash people.
That's trying to appeal to the largest possible audience should keep that in mind. I wanted to go see Superman. I'm not that interested in going to see it now. There's lots of ways that I can spend money. And this moron with his take and deciding to say Superman was super political and it was about an immigration story. I think he's alienated half the country, and I think he made a really poor decision.
Really poor decision by making a Superman movie that's going to alienate half the country. Clay Travis is upset. Let me show you guys more specifically what he's upset about. Jessica Tarloff on The Five was explaining why these grown-ass people are complaining about a fictional.
Is Superman woke? James Gunn, the director of the latest reboot movie, said, quote, Superman is the story of America, an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country. But for me, it is mostly a story that says basic human kindness is a value and is something we have lost.
It's just straightforward. It's an immigrant story. Just to remind you guys, again, I haven't paid much attention to Superman in a while. But last I remember, he's this alien, literal alien from another planet that was tossed away from that planet because it was about to explode, and then sent here to Earth. And then he stayed with some old folks in this small town, and he has some superpowers because he's this alien from another entire planet. But because they put the little curly Q in the front of his head and he's a white guy, he wasn't an immigrant anymore. But now it's a problem that he's an immigrant. And then the director said that it's an immigrant story where he actually helps other people and always kind of feels out of place. It's a bit of a recluse from the rest of society. Did you guys remember that part about Superman? He has to go in hiding. He has to put on an outfit and a costume every day to make sure people don't know who he is. I think this is the director's brother. This is Sean Gunn talking about the same thing. They really got pissed off when he said this.
Your boss, your brother, talked about Superman being an immigrant. And now MAGA is already upset that he's called Superman an immigrant. I wanted to get your reaction.
My reaction to that is that it is exactly what the movie is about. I think that we support our people, we love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant, and yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. And if you don't like that, then you're not American. People who say no to immigrants are against the American way. They're against what the American dream is all about.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Your boss.
They're upset. You know, and more people should say it like that. If you're against this, you're just against America. They need to stop letting people like this, the hateful folks, try and somehow gain this control over what it is to be an American. In order to be American, you have to be a hateful piece of trash, and you have to eliminate everyone else that has made this country what it is. Those are the people that are anti-American. Just say it out loud. But they continue to get mad about it because he's speaking a little bit more of that kind of truth. I'm sorry, it's straight forward. So in order to make sure that they downgrade those types of things that make all the sense in the world, people like Greg Gutfeld, after Jessica Tarloff brought up the things that the director actually said about it, then he has to go after the director. Remember this. And the only reason that this guy is doing this movie instead of making millions of dollars, I feel like that's the main reason he's making the movie. But still, outside of that, is apparently Greg Gutfeld thinks that he's trying to appeal to those radical leftists in Hollywood.
He nearly lost his job, career. He was fired after they unearthed tweets containing pedophile jokes. So he was like banished, canceled. This is his way back. He's creating a moat of woke, enlightened opinion around him. A lot of Me Too suspects do that. James Franco did it. Harvey Weinstein donated a lot to Democrats because he was running around sexually assaulting people. So this is what you do.
He's got a woke shield.
He's got a woke shield.
A woke moat.
So he's trying to rehab his career by making this Superman movie completely different than what it really was. Weird how that works. This may be one of the ways they're trying to connect it, because Kellyanne Conway was also on that same panel. And this is how they think they can connect this Superman movie that hasn't even come out yet. It has affected the entire country so much that people don't even want to like stand up for the flag anymore. People are un-American now because of a Superman movie where they told the story of what Superman actually always was.
I think the big tell is the actual actor. His name is David Cornsweet, and he said, I guess he didn't change it to a better stage name. He found himself unable to say Superman's slogan, quote, truth, fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. He said, truth, justice, and all those good things. He refused to say the American way, and he's playing Superman. I went to the Yankees at Mets game yesterday at Citi Field. Go Yanks. And you should see the people sitting for the national anthem for God Bless America. It's really just, I can't believe that we've come down to that. And I don't know, we don't go to the movie theater to be lectured to and to have somebody throw their ideology onto us. I wonder if it'll be successful.
You know what it says on his cape? MS-13.
Wow.
Is it superimposed or it actually says that?
It is super.
Just on the knuckles.
Superimposed.
One more thing.
People at the Yankees game weren't standing up for God Bless America or the national anthem because Superman is too woke now. Because everyone's sitting in their seats for God Bless America like they always do for decades, and the national anthem because of effing Superman. Listen, it's worth it to take a step back and look at the things these folks are saying and realize how cartoonishly childlike this is. So we're in the middle of a country right now that's got ICE agents running through cities, literally kidnapping people off the streets illegally, sending them to concentration camps and gulags in other countries. We have a Supreme Court that's allowing this president to do anything he wants. He just said the other day he has tremendous power to take over other cities if he doesn't like the leadership that's in place. But we're worried about Superman, a fake ass movie that's supposed to come out tomorrow, where they might have some themes of immigrants not being seen as snarly, blood dripping from their teeth immigrants coming to kill you. They're like, that's not good for our boogeyman story, to tell our children, Trump supporters, that are going to continue to hate this country. That's the full objective. And if that objective isn't reached by them, they get upset and start whining, jump on the floor, kick their feet, and slam their hands and hold their breath till their face turns blue. These are the folks that are supposed to be the best and the brightest and the leadership of the country. They are leading the country. And as you can see, everything's kind of messed up. I'm going to skip Mike Gallagher saying some of the same stuff, because I want to get to Mr. Superman, the guy that keeps talking about Superman all the time. The guy played Superman back in the 90s, and I guess every time the name is brought up, he has to chime in and say something ridiculous.
People picking on Superman, making a funny comment about the cape saying MS-13. He wasn't talking about the character, in my opinion. I think he was talking about, I know Jesse well, and I love him. I think he's great and funny, but he makes great political points with some snark, and it's great. And I think it's wonderful. And the point I think he was making about the MS-13 thing on his cape was, how woke is Hollywood going to make this character? How much is Disney going to change their Snow White? Why are they going to change these characters that exist, for the times? For Superman, it was truth, justice, and the American way. Well, they dropped that. In fact, they let it go. They let that trademark on that go. So it's out there, and they came up with truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Changing beloved characters, I don't think, is a great idea. I think if you want to create a new character, go ahead and do that. But for me, Superman has always stood for truth, justice.
They don't like the part about a better tomorrow. And if only these folks would stop changing what Superman is about. Superman never fought against bad guys. Superman was a bad guy. Superman went after the most vulnerable people. Did you know Superman would target 4-year-old migrant folks and then kick them out of the country? Did you know that Superman would go after a kid with cancer and kick him out of the country? Did you know that Superman would take a 50-year-old guy that's gardening and snatch him by his arm and throw him in a truck with masked agents and bulletproof helmets on with long guns? Did you know that Superman would go and swoop in and help those guys do that? Did you know, in fact, did you know, Dean Cain, that Superman once fought the guys that are leading this country right now?
Over his hundreds of stories, Superman has faced off against a whole host of villains. And today we're taking a closer look at the story of how Superman took on the KKK and helped knock it on its hate-filled, racist ass. On June 10th, 1946, Superman begins his battle with the Clan of the Fiery Cross. The Clan of the Fiery Cross has turned its hatred on a Chinese-American boy named Tommy Lee and his family because Tommy has replaced a white kid as the starting pitcher for the local baseball team. In the end, the Klan and its leaders are brought to justice. In the week Superman versus the Clan of the Fiery Cross was on the air, Klansmen were afraid of what their own children might think if they discovered their Klan robes and hood. This radio program was wildly popular with its target audience. I think it could even be argued that the Clan of the Fiery Cross was the first program to demonstrate to corporate sponsors of the time that these radio shows could be about more than just entertainment, but they could be used in the fight for social justice, a fight comic book stories of all forms continue to this day.
And that's what they're afraid of. At the back end of that, they were talking about how they realized that these stories could be used to fight social justice stories like that. The themes and the things that they would talk about would speak to regular life, and maybe people would see a better. It's weird how they changed that slogan, tomorrow. Instead, it's supposed to be the American old way of racism, bigotry, and using folks to step on their backs in order to promote yourself and act like you actually did it yourself. But he went after the Klan in 1940s. And then those Klan members were afraid. Now those Klan members are running the country. And guess who they're upset at? All you got to do is pay attention. You can see the bad guys when they keep raising their hands and saying, I'm the bad guy. We saw Elon Musk toss the Nazi salute out on inauguration day and say, what do you mean? I didn't know. All I am is a Nazi. These guys probably, I mean, if it wasn't for the name Captain America, they'd hate him too, because dude was punching Nazis in the face all the time in those comics. But now Captain America got a little too woke. What's really wrong with Adolf Hitler? Really? They're letting you know who they are. I got more from Dean Cain. Let's let him keep talking because he's saying stupid things.
And the America is immigrant friendly, tremendously immigrant friendly, but there are rules. You can't come in saying, I want to get rid of all the rules in America because I want it to be more like Somalia. Well, that doesn't work because you had to leave Somalia to come here to make America small. It doesn't make any sense. And that just doesn't make any sense. If people are coming for economic opportunity, well, let's take a look at your government too, why you don't have that economic opportunity. What are the things that are going on there?
It's weird how we can talk about other countries and their economic opportunities and what's not going on and how they can't come to this country and have any kind of input for how things can be better. How is our economic opportunity going right now? How are our prices going up on all of our goods and services? How are those tariff deals going where he's increasing tariffs up to 25 to 40% on any country that he has a bad day and is talking to at that particular time? Oh, I'm sorry, sends a letter to demand that they pay a higher tariff that actually gets passed on to us. Can anyone have criticism for that? Or is that too woke? This guy, man, literally doesn't know how these things work. So one more from Dean Kane, because he's talking a lot about immigration and how it should work.
It's being portrayed as a real that we want people to follow our immigration laws, which is insane to me. Like, to me, it's insane. These are the laws that were created by Congress. Here's an agency, ICE, Customs and Border Patrol. They're supposed to enforce those laws. Why are they being villainized for enforcing the laws that our lawmakers, our elected representatives created? If they want to change the system, change the law. That's the deal. But they're letting it sit there, these entrenched politicians, because that gives them a someplace to stump from and someone to vilify the other side. So I think we're in a bad situation here now because it's being stoked by politicians and by NGOs that have a political agenda. And people really need to be educated on this immigration situation because we are the most immigrant friendly, by far, country on this planet.
We're the most immigrant welcoming country on the planet. I'm not sure if he's paying attention to these ICE agents that he said are only carrying out the law by going in communities, literally trying to deport American citizens, ripping up people's identifications, detaining them without any identification of their own, as people also impersonate these agents to do the same things to people, commit assault and harm folks in the streets. That's what the law says. The guy has no idea what he's talking about. He has no idea how they're not changing laws. They're just ignoring them. And the laws that they used to have to follow before, they just don't feel the need to do that because the guy that's in the White House says they don't have to. Just let them talk and let them expose their ignorance. Hey, you guys, I see that you guys say I had some audio issues. Sometimes that does happen when I'm running these other videos. Maybe we'll try another streaming service to get these out because that is outside of my control. I just run them and they kind of get a little choppy here and there at times. So I apologize for that. We're working on other things where that goes. But listen, you guys, listen, I lost. I'm not sure if you guys remember this, but back when we're doing this live, I lost my two producers, Emily and Emilio. Still keep in touch with them. They're good folks. They're doing good things. But maybe they could have been a part of the back end of fixing that. It's just me. Sorry, you guys. As these do go up as the day goes on, though, they will be they'll get a little bit cleaner. So if you guys want to check these out, maybe if you missed some aspects of these stories, continue to sit here at the watch list. Of course, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't yet already, let people know what's happening. Actually, hit the bell to make sure that you guys know when we're doing something. But you don't have to hit the bell to know this. Every day at noon Eastern, we do this, the watch party. We have it out every time. I have a couple stories. I'll waltz you guys right into TDR. And today, I'm not even going to go over. But I'm going to say what's up to a few of you guys first, though. I did see Jules T. Jules T. You're the one who told me that my audio is cutting up, man. Maybe I shouldn't have said hi to you. I'm playing. How you guys doing? Mario Madness says quite a few heroes fought the Klan. Yeah, they did. That's why, every time there's a superhero movie that comes out and there's this new level of the story, these folks get mad about it because they're like, can you believe that they want to punch Nazis? That's violent. All we want to do is kill immigrants. Grumpy Cat can't be your Superman. I see there's music around it. How you doing, Grumpy Cat? I just want to say hi to a few of you guys that haven't seen your names in a minute. Abby Normal. How you doing as well? There you are again. RB says, look at my cross, look at my flag. I believe that was, I'm not sure if Dean Kane was doing that, but definitely other folks that are talking about how great and how American-based they are. Again, even Christ and Christianity isn't the basis for this country, no matter how much they tried to make that be a thing too. They're just mad. So anyways, I'm glad you guys came. As you guys also waltz and step into the damage report as he comes on in a few more minutes, make sure you let all the folks there know who haven't figured it out yet. What we're doing over here at the watch list, it's live every day. I promise you, it's going to get a little bit, I think that choppiness, we're going to work on a little bit. We have some ideas in place because I haven't noticed it. But I'm glad you guys are here for everything. Make sure you're here also tomorrow. It's a Friday. And you have a couple minutes ahead. I mean, all you folks on the West Coast, it's only going to be what, 9 o'clock for you. But make sure you have your drinks on hand. We're going to start the watch party on a Friday to ask what y'all drinking on. No judgment zone here. If you're drinking on a brew, that's okay. If you're drinking on orange juice or a coffee or a glass of water, that's fine too. But you know what? I've always liked the theme on a Friday. Let's get the Friday started right with a little bit of a watch party. So get your drinks ready. Let me see what you got happening. Grumpy says hello. Grumpy Cat says hello back. Tube Doggo, thank you as well, you guys, for being here. Don't forget, let the folks know. Snack Panther, what's up, man? Haven't seen him around, man. I'm glad you guys are showing up. And of course, Christina Elisa Brown. You guys have not heard from Ma today because my mother is off doing other things. She skipped the party. Let her know the good times that she missed. I'm gonna take off, get these things put together, you guys. We'll see you all tomorrow for a Friday version of the same show. I have seen a couple of you guys in over on Instagram. Let me know what it is that you guys would like for us to talk about. I need to have some video assistance to go with it because I want to show you guys the way these things work, not just from hearing it from me, because people don't like to believe when someone else says something. They need to see the person that they generally trust or the politician that for some reason they follow say exactly what it is that's happening. I like that kind of evidence to be portrayed. So shoot me some stories, you guys. Maybe a little bit more entertainment. Maybe we'll go a little bit more sports every once in a while. But we never miss the importance of the things that are happening in our world. I want to make sure we know that. Thanks, you guys, again. See you guys over on the Damage Report. Have fun today. Happy Thursday.